Welcome to The Business on Radio Verulam, the voice of your local business community.
Hello, yes, it's 8 p.m. on Sunday evening. I'm Trevor Merriden with the show that's essential listening for the West Herts business community. Another packed show this evening, as if there could be another, of course, on this show. With national multi-award winning businesses under our very noses, folks. Deryane Tadd from The Dressing Room will be our interview guest. How does she stay on top in the fickle world of fashion? And how does being in St Albans help or hinder her? They have had a shopping event today, so she'll have lots of exciting things to chat to us about with regard to that. We have a great follow-up story on our Grants for Growth slot with Stuart Thomas. Well, this week another Stuart Grant, MD of Premier Deep Hole Drilling in London Colney, has just been awarded some grant funding support towards the cost of a project. We'll be hearing how he got it later, and maybe how much as well. We have Aarti Parmer, Marketing Manager Bang and Olufsen of Harpenden, which is celebrating a big birthday. She'll be telling us all about that. And we have the lovely Schoobert from Wenter joining us with some cut and thrust and intellectual business debate that is our panel. And if we get through all that, dear listeners, we might just about have time for our diary planner, a roundup of the week ahead. But first of all, what's in the business news? As ever, I'm joined by Roma, Bhowmick and Victoria Scott. How are you this evening, ladies?
Very well, very well.
Good, thank you.
Fantastic, lovely to have you on board. So Roma, let's get straight into it. What's tickled your ivories this week?
Okay, well, so much happening tonight, as you say. And in fact, I have got a bit of another follow-up from the last show. Our listeners might remember we had a very lively debate about the value of social media, and in particular the story of the hotel in Denver, Colorado, the Best Western Denver, who have invested £2.2 million on refurbishing their hotel and turned it into a dinosaur-themed resort complete with museum. Of course, it isn't just a random idea. They happen to sit in a place called Dinosaur Ridge, which is an outcrop of rocks that contains the remains of giant dinosaurs that once roamed this corner of the USA.
Right.
Well, in addition to this investment...
Are you making this up?
No, it's true.
Okay. We all want to go there. We're desperate.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And in addition to this investment, they've effectively also spent approximately £35,000 on social media and branding. And our question in that show was, can you actually translate social media into cash? Well, we haven't quite got there on an answer yet, but just to show you the power of social media, within 48 hours of our show, we had a tweet from the hotel owners who listened to our show via the Listen Again facility.
Really?
And we're going to keep in touch with them to hear how their exciting campaign progresses. We're told we should begin to hear some news by the end of July when they start to see some results, and fingers crossed for them as far as we're concerned. If you want to follow them yourselves, you can do so on Twitter at BestWestDenver, or visit their website at www.bestwesterndenver.com. I really hope they do get some returns on their investment. And as I say, we hope to be able to speak with Guy Talley, who's one of the owners, via Skype at the back end of July. So the wonders of technology and social media.
Fantastic. I mean, we're all big believers in social media around this table. But it's just lovely to show, for us to feel that, our show's having some impact. This isn't about us, but for businesses generally, that social media has an impact, and there's so much sort of DIY PR sort of going on through social media, and it has an effect.
Absolutely.
Vicky,
I was going to say, so rather than just go and visit their website, if anybody is interested in dinosaurs, tell them to go and visit.
Absolutely.
Go and visit.
Yeah.
We want this to be a roaring success, and then they'll invite us.
We like that.
Well, I'm going to actually raise something a little more dull. Dinosaurs are fabulous, but unfortunately that old dinosaur, the GDP reports came out last week. But I was really pleased to say that economists are finally agreeing with me, and they are saying that the optimists and optimism is going to be needed to keep the momentum of the rather measly 0.3% increase on the move.
Do you believe these numbers? I mean, seriously.
Well, it's not really a question of believing them. They're the only numbers that we've actually got that we can really look at. So whether you believe them or not, it's about that number relative to the last number that was from the same set of data. So it's really about trends rather than actual.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the 0.3%. I mean, I was fascinated by the media obsession with this latest quarter. Go look over the year, for goodness sake. Think long term. Don't get stuck in the sort of short term vortex. Anyway, sorry.
Well, except that actually they've got to really. They wouldn't have any news if they didn't look just at the last quarter.
Absolutely right.
So it is interesting, though. I actually sort of thought I was quite surprised when I saw that it was largely driven by the services sector, including retail, hotels, and restaurants. So if there are any restaurant, cafe owners out there or hotel owners listening, we'd really like to see whether you're feeling that sort of benefit, whether it's business is ticking along in West Herts. Do call us, do tweet, do get in touch and let us know how it's going. Obviously, we've got Deryane Tadd of the Dressing Room later, who's going to tell us a bit more about retail. So that's going to be pretty interesting. And one of my old industry muckers, guru of the advertising industry, Sir Martin Sorrell, he was also predicting better times ahead. And of course, the ad industry is a notoriously good barometer of economic confidence. So we do hope that the coming programmes will be full of success stories and warming messages to keep us going. I also particularly love the fact that these terribly, terribly dry reports keep referring back to the lipstick factor, which, as we believe, is alive and well. And I can certainly comment that I'm contributing to the lipstick factor. And this is this sort of concept that actually, however bad it gets, whatever's going on, us girls actually can always nip out and buy a lipstick to make ourselves feel good.
Trevor might want to.
I'm with him on that. And I'm sure we're going to have a little bit more info from Deryane later on that. So good. It's all looking good for retailers and hotels and restaurants.
Absolutely. I won't reveal my lipstick choice until later in the show.
Oh, go on. We could tweet a photo.
It just looks like gloss, actually.
It's Vaseline, actually.
Let's not go there. Let's move on.
Lips are rather dry at the moment.
And that's another show.
Yes, it is. Yes. I mean, from what I've seen in the news, I mean. And this is a sort of, I'm sorry, I'm going to become very serious here, but I mean, we all like to knock health and safety. We all talk about political correctness gone mad, and I've been really sort of shocked by this story about over in Bangladesh about the workers, they sew clothes for Western consumers, lowest paid in the industry anywhere in the world, and I, when I actually wrote a little note about this, I said more than 200 of them have died. Actually, it's more than 300 now, and it's just kind of going up and and all there's dramatic things going on about the garment industry workers have been told to ignore the cracks in the walls and continue with work as normal, And I think it's fair to say that the deaths are as a result of neglect and lack of regulation in the industry over there. And I don't think this is so much a case of lax regulations over there, and we're nice and safe over here. But I think that it's very easy to knock health and safety, and I think some of it is political correctness gone mad in this country. But it's there for a reason, really. And so I'll just sort of ask folk, really, and just sort of throw this one open to you guys, is that sometimes it's very easy to knock things, and but actually incidents like this shows that some of those things are needed, maybe.
Well, and it's also about ethical business practice, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of stuff in the news about how companies manage their supply chain, and actually, the argument has been, well, it's not our responsibility. We outsource to our suppliers, we give them expectations, but then do they actually go and double check what's going on? And actually, on top of this issue of health and safety, it's about being ethical, isn't it?
Yeah,
I did see some reports and some suggestions by a variety of sort of industry commentators that there would, should we as consumers stop buying products from these incredibly cheap stores, because you sort of know that you can't really make that top for £1.99. It's sort of pretty well impossible. So it's got to be something a little bit risque going on somewhere. But the reality is that that it cannot be left with the consumers to make a decision to purchase or not. It's just not going to happen, is it?
I think there's a lot to be said about the idea of responsible trade, and you just can't get away with it, James, because we're such a transparent world world now where people can see these things going on, that the ethical, sort of straightforward business is the business that wins out, I think, at the end of the day. Anyway, so sorry to bring in a serious news subject. I mean, but I think it is quite important, and it sort of throws a little bit of a different light sometimes on that old health and safety debate. Right, we're going to. I'm really looking forward to us talking to Deryane Tadd. Deryane Tadd. But I'm still really looking forward to talking to her all the same. But we'll be back with her straight after this.
Wondering what you could do this weekend? Well, you don't have to go far from home. There's plenty to discover on your doorstep. Join me, Ellie O'Fira, this Friday at midday, when we'll be giving you some great ways to get out and about close to home. That's Out and About, Friday at midday, here on 92.6 FM, Radio Verulam.
Hi, I'm Chris Saunders. Join me on Wednesdays from 7 to 8 for The Gig Guide, playing the best local music in the West Herts area and telling you about the finest places to go to hear it. That's The Gig Guide, Wednesdays at 7 p.m, exclusively on 92.6 FM, Radio Verulam.
You're listening to The Business on Radio Verulam. We're the voice of the local business community on 92.6 FM and on radioverulam.com.
Hello, you're listening to The Business. It's just coming up to 13 minutes past 8 o'clock. And now we've got our interview slot. Vicky, take it away.
So I'm delighted, as I said earlier, to welcome Deryane Tadd, who's the owner of the Dressing Room, to the studio today. She's had a very, very busy day, so we're very pleased that she's been able to come along, looking absolutely gorgeous and glamorous, just as I would have imagined that she would, even though she's been up since the crack of dawn. So what have you been up to today, Deryane?
Today we had an amazing event on at the Dressing Room. It was a private, exclusive brand showcase event, and we put on a gorgeous brunch for everybody. So there was lots of food provided for us by Hatch in St Albans, and then we had kind of champagne and Bucks Fizz, and we did a showcase with models on one of our favourite brands, and it was just fantastic. It was really, really lovely, and that was on for a couple of hours, and then after that the store was open to customers as usual, but it was really, really successful. It's the first one we've done like that, and we'll definitely be doing it again. It was great.
It sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to see if I can sort of wangle an invitation
absolutely,
next time.
Of course.
So
that was so unsubtle. It was unbelievable. I mean, you're doing it live on air. I mean, what's she supposed to say?
Oh, that's so unfair. You're picking me up. Now let's get serious. The Dressing Room, it seems to have really hit the spot when you launched. Is it 2005? Am I right in saying that? I think I'm also right in saying that you immediately won a Draper's Record Best Newcomer Award.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, that was about a year after we'd been open. Yeah,
that's fantastic. How do you think you managed to get it so right so quickly?
I think having a good instinct for what my customer was going to want, and then acting on it, and really kind of looking at. I've got a long career in retail prior to starting my own business, which I think is ultimately what kind of set me in good stead, really. So I knew what to expect. I didn't just think I'll open a shop, that'll be nice. So it was a proper business decision, and I think that business mind and then that buying focus for the St Albans customer base really was what started the business in such good stead.
But it's very, well, I would say it's easy to start in good stead, but I mean, it's not. It's terribly, terribly difficult. But to keep going, to keep doing it differently, to keep developing and to keep winning awards. I think you've just, is it this year that you've been listed in one of the top 50 fashion outlets in the Telegraph's best list, which is phenomenal, given the number of shops that are out there.
Absolutely. We've won some amazing awards over the last 8 years. We've kind of won 6 major industry awards. In February we were voted the number 1 most inspiring independent business in the UK.
Wow.
And I know, fantastic. And it was a real surprise because that was voted for by our peers in the industry. So it was voted for by people that I really admire and respect, people that have been in the business for kind of 30 odd years that have voted us as the most inspiring. So that was fantastic. We've been in lots of the best lists as well. You mentioned the Telegraph, Vogue, the Independent, Red Magazine, Glamour, so all of those. But you know what? it doesn't happen through luck. It's sheer hard work, passion and energy. And I think that's the advice I would give to anybody looking at either starting their own business or reinvigorating their business and wondering perhaps why it's not working. Look at the passion and the energy that you put into it. If you really give it your all, you will get good stuff out of it.
Can I, just on that one, I mean, getting awards, I mean, it's great, and it's great for the team, you know, and to sort of pass on, to make them, you know, feel that there's that external recognition.
Yeah.
But I suppose you got the awards, I mean, by the hard work in the first place. I mean, it's a difficult balance, isn't it? Quite how much you get the awards, and you celebrate and things like that. But obviously, you don't want to let it sort of go to everybody's heads, if you see what I mean.
I think there's a reason for going in for the awards. The reason for me wasn't for oh, aren't we fantastic? Yeah. It was, we're a new business. Let's look at how we can put ourselves on the map. Let's get ourselves known within this industry, so that from getting yourself known within the industry, it's not just, oh, aren't we wonderful? Yeah. It's, what can you get out of that? So then you're in, top of the list for all of the suppliers. So you want a brand, and then you get a better response to getting that. So you're getting things out of it. It's also about then marketing your business. You don't even have to win the award. You can be a finalist. You can market that as much as you can as winning. Yeah. So I haven't entered them to kind of, oh, aren't we great? I've entered them for a reason. Yeah. And when we've won them, which has always been fantastic, and we have won, then it's not about, aren't we fantastic? It's, how can we be even better? And I'm always striving to kind of be better than my current best. And I think that's key to what I do. And it's hard work. It's tiring being like that, but I don't know any other way to do it, to be honest.
Fair enough.
And it's clearly those sorts of awards have an influence on customers. It makes them feel confident.
Absolutely.
That your choices of fashion, your style, what you're doing is the right place to be.
Yeah, indeed. It shows them that they feel like, oh, that's fantastic. I've been supporting this business for, X, Y, Z years, and I've been told that they're the best in the UK. Oh, great. Well, I always knew they were, and that's a really nice feeling for a customer as well. And it grows that customer loyalty. And because we are an independent business, people like to see that we've done well. We're a small business at the end of the day, and if we can be voted the best in the UK and we're on their doorstep, then fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic. Have you seen any changes over the 5 years, or the last 5 years, say? Any changes in sort of consumer behaviour? Any changes in the way people are shopping within the fashion arena?
Yes, I have. I have noticed changes. I think people now are really looking for value for money. And by value for money, I don't mean value as in price. I mean value for money in terms of experience. So they're coming into us and they want a great shopping experience, and rightly so. We've noticed that whereas Saturdays were always, for as long as I've worked in retail, for the last kind of 20 years, Saturdays always 32% of our week. They're now 28 to 29% of the week. More money is taken during the week now because it's a slightly slower, more relaxed shopping experience rather than that frenetic Saturday kind of shopping. Still the biggest day of the week, it's still the busiest, yet, Sundays where it's a little bit more relaxed, it's a little bit more experience. I think that's what people are looking for. So I've noticed that that it's a more sort of relaxed shopping experience.
And you adjust service accordingly?
I suppose we used to have probably 7 people, sometimes 8 people in on a Saturday, staff-wise. Now we have 5. So it just, and we have more people on a Sunday now. So it just, varies really. You just adjust accordingly.
And you mentioned a little earlier when you first went into when you first launched the dressing room, you sort of had a feel and an idea of what the people of St Albans or West Herts would want. So what's different about the people of West Herts or St Albans? What did you go for? What?
I think when I was looking to start my business, I was kind of looking at different areas to start, and St Albans was the first place I wanted to open. I was also looking at kind of Windsor, Marlow, places like that, Henley, but St Albans just seemed right to me, and I think St Albans, it's very close to London. It's commuter belt, but it's not. So people are kind of trend led, but they're not trend driven. So it's about kind of they want to have that trend element to their wardrobe, but they want it to be a little bit more stylish, a little bit more sophisticated, and they want it to be wearable as well for their everyday kind of life. So I think that's kind of what's key to the St Albans woman that shops with us, and it's nice having that adjacency, that closeness to London, because you are sort of just on the edge of it all, and it's great.
So actually that's interesting, isn't it? Because some people would say it's not so great because people, if they really want something special, can just nip into London. But actually you've seen it as a positive, which is fantastic. Completely. And you're actually not in either of the two sort of main shopping areas, really. You're not in the Maltings or not in the St Christopher's Place. You actually almost have to do a sort of a special detour to go to you. And that's another sort of brave decision to make. Was that because of the premises that you went there? Would you have liked to have been in one of the
I think
areas?
Before I set up the business, perhaps I would have thought that Christopher Place was the holy grail for where I wanted to be. But actually, once I'd started trading on Holywell Hill, I knew that I really would have loved to have gone into the unit that I'm in now. It used to be Andrew's menswear, and I was driving past with my husband one day, and I was like, oh my God, it would be amazing if we could get into that store one day. That would be fantastic. About 2 weeks later, spoke to the property agent that was looking for other locations for me, and he said, this unit's come up. It's huge. It's really expensive.
The same one?
Yeah. You're not.
Wow.
It's too big. It's too expensive. You're not going to want it. And I was like, where is it? And he said, it's the Andrews unit. And I was like, oh my God, I have to have it. We've got to work this out. And plenty of sleepless nights. It wasn't an easy decision. It's very, very expensive kind of high street premises. And for me, it's been perfect. It may not be in the Maltings, but I don't think that's right for my customer base. Christopher Place is fantastic, really smart, but actually the High Street's a great location. I wouldn't change it for the world. I think, we've got some great restaurants and coffee shops nearby. It's great in terms of passing traffic. Footfall is high around that area, and I think we've managed to make it enough of a destination that people know where we are.
Now, you've talked about continually sort of staying ahead of the trends, which you have to, absolutely sure in fashion. What have you got coming up? What do you think is going to be happening in retail over the next few years?
For me, I think it's prime time for independent retailers. I think as independent retailers, we're all about the customer experience, we're all about service, and we put the customer at the forefront of the business decision we make, or you should as an independent retailer anyway. And I think if you're doing that, then I think the future is positive for all independent retailers. Put the customer at the forefront of everything that you do. Think about the customer experience. You'll offer much better experience, much better kind of things than a multiple retailer ever can. So I think the future's positive, but you have to put the hard work in.
It's a great message that you're giving to everybody. And I was saying a little earlier, retail is on the up and it is doing well.
Yeah.
So, final question: if I could wave a magic wand over your business for the next year, what would be the one thing that I could sort of grant you as a gift?
Okay, people will probably be quite surprised at this. More space. Absolutely. I would love to have more space. When I first moved into that unit, I was terrified of how large it was. I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to fill this space. Now I could fill double, treble the space easily, and I know I'd have the customer for it.
So is it a bit like, when my wife and I moved into our house, we thought, how are we ever going to fill the space? And then 3 kids later, it's like suddenly, and I suppose all these things are your kids really, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're all your sort of things, and you now expand and you just want to...
Definitely,
Would that mean you'd want to have more space in the same premises, or would you like to open up a sort of
more space in the same premises ideally, definitely I'd like to expand what we do under the same roof.
I know there's been a television show that's been running on Mr. Selfridge,
Oh yeah, I loved that.
Looks as though you are our very own Mrs. Selfish, Mrs. St Albans. Thank you ever so much, Deryane.
No, you're welcome.
It's been really, really interesting. I must come and spend some time in the store because it sounds absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And congratulations on all the fantastic awards and
thank
keeping
you very
our
much.
retail business alive and kicking in St Albans.
Definitely, you're very welcome.
Pleasure. And the only reason I sort of I knocked your sort of shameless invitation was that my wife wants to come along as well, so I wanted to get mine in as well on air. But,
well, I'd welcome you all.
Okay, and we'll be and you'll be back, won't you, for our panel discussion a little bit later? So you'll be back a little bit later in the show. And here we go.
Radio Verulam Community Partners.
Dagnall Street Baptist Church has a welcoming, friendly atmosphere and can be found in the city centre. Regular Sunday services are held at 10:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. There are also weekday social meetings, special events and concerts. Our busy, relaxed coffee shop deserves a visit and is open 10 till 2 Monday to Saturday. Our website, www.dsbc.org.uk, has details of our regular programme and future events, plus the opportunity to download our monthly magazine. We also have a Facebook page where you can catch up on our latest news and chat.
For more on Radio Verulam Community Partners, go to radioverulam.com/community partners.
The Solid Gold Music Show on Radio Verulam is with you on Saturday mornings between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. Join Derek Staines and Stephen Hall as they flash you back, value discs, have a brief biog and interview the stars. We also allow SJH to ramble down nostalgia lane. It's all on the Premier Oldies show here on 92.6 FM. The Solid Gold Music Show, sponsored by Dockguard of Luton.
If you want to get in touch with the business on Radio Verulam, phone us on 01727 839 926 or email thebusiness@radioverulam.com.
Welcome back to the business. Thanks to Vicky and Deryane for that very interesting and informative interview. As ever, it's great to hear success stories from business owners in our own backyard. And what better way to continue with this theme than to revisit another item we finished on our last programme. You may remember the feature on the new Grants for Growth, I'll say that again, Grants for Growth programme, which has been launched by the local enterprise partnership in this region, which looks to help small businesses with capital investment. If not, here's what Stuart Thomas, one of the grant managers, had to say to it in one of our previous shows.
Growth and Efficiency Programme. Now, this is open to all SMEs in the 6 counties of the east of England. So if you reside in Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire, Essex, Norfolk or Suffolk, this could be of interest to you. Grants for Growth is a 2-year package of free, confidential and impartial support for SMEs, providing practical help and financial assistance to help them reduce costs and increase competitiveness.
And he goes on, and you can listen to the rest of that tape on our new YouTube site, which we'll read out the address for at the end of this programme. But Roma, tell us a bit more.
This week we were contacted by Stuart Thomas to say that a local engineering firm have just been awarded £25,000 worth of grant funding support towards the cost of a project. And we've got the Managing Director of Premier Deep Hole Drilling Limited based in London Colney, Stuart Grant, another Stuart, on the line to tell us all about it now. Hello Stuart, thank you for agreeing to speak to us tonight.
Good evening.
Fantastic news, £25,000 towards your project. Maybe you could start by telling us first, though, a little bit about your business.
Yes, of course. Premier Deep Hole Drilling has been based in London Colney since it was started in 1989. As the name suggests, our core business is drilling long holes in metallic components. Mm-hmm. Our primary market is the aerospace market, and we're on many of the Boeing and Airbus programs, and we also supply to the oil and gas industry.
Right, excellent. So interesting that aerospace is one of the areas that you work in, because of course in this region, thanks to de Havilland, we're kind of world famous for aeronautics, aeronautical engineering, aren't we?
Yes, that's right. It's a market we've grown into. Premier Deep Hole Drilling originally was based more around the motorsport and Formula One markets, but over the last 10 to 15 years particularly, we've grown mostly within the aerospace industry. Obviously it's one of the major industries in the UK still, so it's a very strong growth market as well.
Yeah, brilliant. So what did you apply for the grant to help you with then?
As I say, our basic business is deep hole drilling, and the company originally essentially just drilled holes in components for people. And over the years, we've had to and wanted to move up the value chain, so we now supply a lot more machined and drilled components. So apart from the drilling side of things, we carry out a lot more finished machining and so on. But the next stage for us, and particularly with our largest aerospace customer, was that we wanted to be able to supply complete components to them for two reasons really. One, obviously it added value to ourselves, and secondly, there was a risk that if we didn't maintain our position directly as a supplier to them, that potentially some of the work could be moved either overseas or certainly to some of our competitors, but particularly in the aerospace market there is quite a drive to move overseas to lower cost. So it was really important for us to try and drive ourselves up, and the reason for the application for the grant was primarily to add new capability to the company. So we will now be able to do, or when we actually bring the machines on site, we'll actually be able to do more work on the components up to the point of actually finishing them, whereas previously we've tended to be reliant on our customers finishing components for us.
Excellent.
So has this made a sort of significant difference then, this, or is it one of other sort of avenue of funding?
No, this was the only avenue. I mean, we were certainly looking at making investment. I mean, the investment we proposed to Grants for Growth to Stuart, we were looking to make is about 370,000. So it's a significant investment in 3 new large machines. And it was. I was looking around for opportunities to see what we could do with funding. I know some of my customers have been able to access the Regional Growth Fund, which I tried that route and that was unavailable to us. Fortunately, when I was suggested that I spoke directly to the LEP, our local LEP, and a gentleman called Paul Whitcomb I spoke to there was extremely.
We seem to have lost him. Stuart, I hope they haven't taken the money back. What's going on there? Not to worry. We'll just carry on. I mean, it's a fascinating story, isn't it, Roma? I mean, the whole thing, and it's just nice to see Grants for Growth making such a difference.
Absolutely. I mean, well, hopefully we'll get Stuart back. And apologies, Stuart, if you're listening. We didn't mean to cut you off deliberately. No, absolutely, it's fascinating. And the key thing is that the organisation is growing. They've recognised what they need to do in order to be even more competitive in their own marketplace. Oh, I think we've got Stuart back on the line.
Well, we haven't got him back on quite yet,
okay.
but it's a fascinating. It's just such a fascinating area. I was very struck by the fact that this is a really important deal for him. I think
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's the key thing. As Stuart pointed out, they already had specified a particular programme of development that they found they could use the grant for.
That's right.
And I think that's one of the key important factors in the context of applying for grants. Do we have Stuart back on the line?
I think we might have. Stuart, you there?
Yes, I'm back on.
Wonderful.
Sorry, Stuart.
We thought they pulled the plug on you there. But here we go. On you go, Roma.
So sorry, I was saying, Stuart, that the interesting thing about your experience and the funding is that as an organisation, again, it demonstrates you've recognised an opportunity to promote competitive advantage on the world circuit, not just here at local level or in the UK. And the grant is a way of sort of, I guess, a nice little sweetener to add to the investment that you're making as a company.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's it helps us helps us in terms of making the investment. It also helps that certainly in some other regions, and say some of our customers are certainly all over the UK as well as abroad. Some areas seem to be able to access grants more easily, and this was one that was available to us, and it helps us level things out a little bit. So, and in terms of the amount of investment we're having to make, it's certainly extremely helpful, because it's a lot of cash to find for the deposits and so on in the first place.
Yeah. And actually, Stuart, there's often an accusation that applying for grants is a long and laborious process. What was your experience? How did Stuart Thomas help you?
As I say, Stuart was put in touch with us by Paul Whitcomb at the LEP. He came to see me to talk me through the opportunity to apply for the grant. I think he spoke to me on the phone, came in to see me to go through some forms on a Friday, and the grant was actually approved the Friday following. So it was extremely straightforward. I mean, Stuart's very helpful. I'd advise anyone to get him in and talk them through it, because he understood exactly how it worked, and it was extremely straightforward. I have been involved many years ago in a company I had in Lancashire, and sometimes it is true that accessing these funds is quite tortuous.
I was about to say, I mean, that's very heartening news. I mean, because you hear all sorts of sort of stories about bureaucracy and paperwork and so on. But your experience has been, I mean, it sounds like you've had both ends of the range of experiences, but this certainly seems to be at the happy end anyway. I
mean, Paul was with us. Stuart came in to see me, and it took us less than an hour to complete the forms. That was sufficient to make the application, and that was the end of the process as far as we were concerned, until we received an offer letter. So, to be honest, I was genuinely quite surprised.
Yeah. So what would be, if you could encapsulate it in one top tip, what would be your key or your top tip for a grant application?
I think you've pointed out exactly right. I think you need to understand why you want to apply for the grant, because the main reason is that you have to have a purpose that you want to achieve with it. It can't be for help you just to keep your cash flow going or funding and so on. There needs to be a point to doing it. I think the key things certainly that came through on our side of things were, one, it's that it gives us the opportunity to maintain, and we will be increasing employment because we will need people to run the machines. So that was a key part to it. And as I say, certainly with this fund, I can only suggest that if they contact Stuart, he was extremely helpful. He understood exactly how it worked. As I say, essentially, I spent an hour with him. We talked through what we were trying to do, and he was able to guide me through the process, which again is quite difficult if you've not been through it. So I would suggest the main thing is understand why you're trying to do it in the first place. Make sure you've got a good reason. That it's hopefully a good growth story within the business, and secondly, do take up the advice as quickly as you can.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show again. And would you mind if we keep in touch?
No, it'd be a pleasure.
Yeah, maybe we could get you in and get you to talk about how the project's progressing, and we'd be really interested in hearing how it's making a difference to your competitive advantage.
Yeah,
so
that'd be great.
Thank you again, Stuart Grant from Premier Deep Hole Drilling Limited.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Join Simon Carver on Fridays from 6:30 p.m. for The Film Guide. We look at the UK cinema box office top 10, a selection of the new cinema releases and the best of the week's films on free-to-air TV. That's Fridays from 6:30 p.m. on West Hart's Drive Time with Danny Smith, exclusively on Radio Verulam 92.6 FM.
You're listening to The Business on Radio Verulam. We're the voice of the local business community on 92.6 FM and on radioverulam.com.
If you're interested in finding more about the fund and want to talk to Stuart, he works with Grants for Growth the Grants for Growth programme. You can visit their website at www.grants4growth.org.uk or contact Stuart Thomas at stuart@grants4growth.org.uk. And if you do get in touch with Stuart, why don't you, a bit like we've just heard from Stuart Grant, tell us your story. I think on another show, what I'll do is a few more top tips on how to apply for grant funding.
Or maybe we could put it on our Twitter thing.
Our Twitter thing.
we could do. We are after all Twitterati.
Yeah, and actually maybe we could do a little bit of something with Alex from Wenter. We've got Alex here today, so maybe we could get Alex to do a bit of commentary on it as well at some point.
I think that's a lovely idea. Now, we are nothing but a flexible format in this show. Yes. So, I mean, what we could do, Roma, it's entirely your choice. You've got two things to choose from now. We could go straight to our panel guest, or we could talk to Aarti Parmer after the messages.
Should we talk to Aarti? Everyone's probably a bit bored of my voice at the moment.
Should we talk to Aarti? Okay, straight after this.
You're listening to The Business on Radio Verulam. We're the voice of the local business community on 92.6 FM and on radioverulam.com.
Welcome back to The Business. And as I said, we talked to Aarti Parmer from Bang and Olufsen in Harpenden, and they're celebrating a very special anniversary. And we sent Vicky Scott off to ask her a few questions, and this is what happened.
So here I am with Aarti Parmer, whose father has been running and owns the Bang and Olufsen Centre in Harpenden, which I believe is 40 years old this year, isn't it, Aarti?
Absolutely, yes.
So this is his 40th anniversary. He's a specialist retailer. How's he managed to keep going for 40 years in this terribly difficult climate?
I believe it will be just truly down to one thing, and that is service. It's just the fantastic relationships he's built up over the last 40 years with his customers, and it's been generations that he's served, which is just lovely to see.
Does it extend beyond the sort of local Harpenden area then?
Yes, it actually does. I think Dad's furthest client lives in Scotland.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
All in Scotland.
Yes, every time he comes down, he's always like, Tulsi, I will not buy from anyone else. I'll only come in and see you because of the way you look after me.
That's fantastic. And you specialise in all sorts of products from Bang and Olufsen.
We've always sold Bang and Olufsen there, and throughout the years, because of its prestige, the heritage, and simply the quality of products that they have been making and are continuing to make.
So a combination of excellent products and excellent service. And at the moment, difficult times, recession, depression, double dips, triple dips, all of that sort of stuff. Is business tough?
Absolutely, it is tough. And with products available online, it's becoming even more and more challenging. Buying trend has certainly changed over the years. So we've just got to keep up with that, in a sense, creating awareness.
And how I know that you've done some quite fun and exciting things to create awareness and sort of drive footfall to get people through the store. Tell us a little bit about a couple of the ideas that you've put in to drive that footfall.
We actually sponsored the Hearts 10K run in 2012. Which allowed us to have a stand at the run itself, so that created quite a bit of awareness. And on the back of that, I created an event in the store, so we invited people over, whereby we had like a family fun day, where families could come in and have professional photographs taken with exotic animals. Yes, so I think at that point Dad did sort of think, what's going on in my store, in my TV audio store, and we've got exotic animals here. So it was a great way to get people into the store, and as they're in there, they're obviously having a look at the products. We had lovely homemade nibbles and drinks and stuff available, so it was a really enjoyable day.
It sounds great fun. So it's building, so then you're presumably building databases, people aren't frightened of walking through the doors, and you develop relationships which really helps. That's
fantastic. It gave a reason for people to come in, a different reason, and it's an enjoyable day.
It was a very enjoyable day, and in a very noisy tea shop. And we love it when Vicky goes out and does these interviews.
We certainly do.
We seem to just end up with sort of drills and tea shops and all sorts of things. But I love it, and I thought it was really, really interesting hearing from Aarti from Bang and Olufsen in Harpenden.
We could actually have a feature instead of "Where's Wally?" "Where's Vicky?" and you have to guess on the basis of the sounds behind her.
Exactly. Yes, that's a lovely idea. Actually.
There you go.
Yes, well,
competition.
I can feel a theme coming on. So I think we've got a heated panel debate to come up now, haven't we?
Well, you haven't said it.
What?
Debate.
Off we go.
That's your favourite.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, every week we debate the big business issues. And this week we welcome back Deryane Tadd from the dressing room and a guest who's very familiar with the business listeners, Alex Schoobert from Wenter. Welcome to you both, ladies.
Hello.
Hello. Now, my first item's one I know Deryane has mastered for sure, as evidenced by the numerous awards she keeps winning, and it's that of successful branding. Every firm has a corporate identity, whether it's been carefully crafted by a marketing department or formed as a result of word of mouth. So how can SMEs ensure they get their message right? I guess one of the most well-known experts on how to create a powerful brand is business magnate Sir Richard Branson. He once said, branding demands commitment to continual reinvention, striking chords with people to stir their emotions, and commitment to imagination. It's easy to be cynical about such things, but much harder to be successful. But if you're a fledgling business, how do you identify your brand and then develop it to grow your business? So, Deryane, maybe you could begin by telling us how you feel you get the formula right as far as branding's concerned.
I think it's about really having your customer kind of getting under the skin of your customer, really knowing who your customer is. So even starting your business, you're starting your business for a reason. So you're starting it to service a particular customer. So really understanding who that is, knowing what they want from you, and delivering it, really, I think, is the ultimate in creating your brand first and foremost. And then as you were saying with Richard Branson's statement there, I think it's about commitment to that brand and really kind of moving it on as well. If things, you need to evolve it. You can't just keep it kind of stagnant and leave it looking the same. You need to kind of evolve. You need to look at what you're doing and then and make changes accordingly. But ultimately, it's knowing your customer. That's what your brand is all about. If you know your customer, then your brand kind of develops from that, really.
So how would you say your brand has evolved? What has it gone from and to?
I think we started as very much a small boutique, but with a big business idea behind it. I always have thought of have run my business like a much bigger business. I never think of it as a small business, and I think we've evolved into a much bigger business through that bigger business attitude, really. And I think that's how we've evolved and will continue to evolve. We've expanded 3 times in 8 years. We also have our e-commerce site as well, which is becoming extremely successful. That last year was we saw 89% growth in our e-commerce, and competing with all those other e-commerce sites out there is very difficult, and that's about having a strong brand and really getting our name out there. So we've really moved on.
Excellent. I mean, this whole issue of market share is key in a market that's allegedly really tight. Although it is very interesting, and we've discussed this so many times before, that there are businesses like yours that are bucking the trend. And there are a lot of businesses out there actually bucking the trend, and one of the ways in which they seem to be able to do that is getting their branding right.
Definitely. Just think about your customer in everything that you do. Put them at the forefront of every business decision. That's where I come from, and that's what we do, and that's why so far so good. We're successful.
Good. And Alex from Wenter, you've got tried and tested track record supporting small businesses. So what are your thoughts on the subject of branding?
I think there's a few things actually, and the dressing room is a really, really good example because it's quite a funny thing, branding. There's a lot of interesting kind of psychology going on behind there. But just picking up that point about the understanding your customer, it's you're sort of communicating the sort of the value and things about the product or service that are behind that through your brand. And you are sort of communicating to the customer, this is for you, and actually I'm a regular customer of the dressing room, and it's exactly that. There's sort of everything about the colours and the way it looks and the way the staff talk to you when you go, and it makes me feel like, oh yes, this is my, I belong in this shop. I'm quite happy here. So it's a really interesting thing. And then the other thing that Deryane was saying as well is that you've got to kind of keep that consistency then so that it becomes familiar and people begin to recognise it. When you then do things like you develop a website or you perhaps introduce new products, though everything that, any new products that come in need to sort of then fit with that brand and feel right for the dressing room, for example. And you then need to think, how taking something like Virgin or something. Well, let's take something like Marks and Spencer's. It's, how do you stretch that? So they started in clothes and then they sort of went food and homewares. But you can get that wrong sometimes.
Yes.
You can choose the wrong thing
Yeah.
that doesn't fit, and then you sort of lose it. So,
and they have done, haven't they? They've seen their results suffer at times when they haven't quite got it right. And we've got lots of examples out in the marketplace of where that goes wrong. And that clear understanding of what you're about, who you are, what you deliver to the marketplace is really key. Have to say, guilty secrets here. I remember going to the dressing room about 2 years ago, desperately thinking, what am I going to wear? We had a wedding in New York and then another event as well, and they kitted me out with 2 outfits, shoes, jewellery. It was fabulous. And what was really fantastic was no one made me feel like, oh gosh, we've got nothing that will fit you or look good on you. You were made to feel like you were the most important person in the shop, and I think that's really important.
That's fantastic to hear. I think the biggest difficulty is consistency, really. I think for any business is, especially as your business grows and perhaps you can't always be on the shop floor at every given moment, if you're in retail, for instance. Knowing that consistency is being sort of driven home and displayed by your team as well is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. No, trying to, you get things right, as you say, translating out amongst your staff is key.
It's so key. So it's investing in that kind of staff training. We do a lot of staff training, and we really invest in it.
It's so important, isn't it? I mean, when you said that about going into a store and not feeling sort of intimidated
awkward
in any way, it just made me think of that. That is it Debbie Roberts moment in Pretty Woman where she goes into the
Big
store
mistake.
and
it's brilliant.
Absolutely, and that sort of thing. And I think people do feel like that, even if people don't say that. What should we move on to our second one?
Our second story. Oh, we could chat all night about all sorts. Well, for our second story, I thought it might be nice to stay with all things fashion, but with a little twist. It seems that our love for fashion and doggies has moved up a level. The world seems to be going doggy couture mad. No exception was the first Doggies and Tiaras pageant held recently in the New Yorker Hotel in New York City, which featured 30 dogs competing in a pageant for activewear, talent and glamour categories. I'm into light-hearted contestants that raise money for animals who need help, said Karen Beale of locally based reality TV show Doggy Mums, who was there with her Chihuahua Ellie. Indeed, proceeds benefited the Inky Blue Sea Animal Rescue, which is a non-profit organisation. Now, I'm a dog lover. In fact, I have a nutty Springer Spaniel called Poppy, but dressing her up, not so sure. Apart from which, as Alex said, who's met my dog, she'd probably eat her outfit. But Poochie pampering and languishing Lanvin or Chanel on your beloved Bow Wow seems to be an ever-increasing trend, even here in the UK. So why are we so obsessed? Is it our love of all things fashion, or are we just going a bit crazy? Deryane, you thinking of stocking matching Poochie clothes at any time?
Not quite now, but you've got the right guest here. I would never have understood this a couple of years ago, but now I've got had my miniature sausage dog for 2 years. I'm absolutely obsessed with her, and I am the typical cliche blonde. I've got a blingy collar on my dog, and I've bought her jackets before, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm a businesswoman, but I also am a cliche.
Confessions online.
Absolutely, it's just good fun. It's fun.
Brilliant.
That's all.
Alex, what about you?
Well, I don't have a dog, but Yeah, I think I'd be tempted.
Oh,
there are some
you
quite
see?
interesting things. I did have a look on the internet earlier, and there are just so many things.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Accessories, perfume,
Yeah, absolutely.
little hats. Like,
And
they are
all
quite
the
sweet.
main designers do accessories to match your outfit.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
There you go, Trevor.
It's ridiculous, but it's fun.
Exactly. So maybe we can see a range at the dressing room at some point in the future.
You never know.
She said you never know in that sort of over my dead kind of way. So. Listen, I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap up the panel. I mean, we probably will talk all night, won't we? I mean, but unfortunately not on air. So we'll just finish off after this.
Radio Verulam Community Partners.
The St Albans District Talking Newspaper is a local charity which offers a free news service to people who are visually impaired. News is taken from the Hearts Advertiser and is read and recorded onto cassette tapes and memory sticks, which are sent out each week. If you know someone who is visually impaired who might be interested, please ring Linda Randall on 01582 832275 for more information.
For more on Radio Verulam Community Partners, go to radioverulam.com/community partners.
Well, welcome back to the business. We've just got a couple of minutes till the end of the show. I said we would struggle to fit it all in, and so it's proved. So we've just got 2 minutes or so at the moment just to talk about what's on this week. The first thing I've got is on the 17th of May from Michael Delaney, who's a partner at Matthew Arnold and Baldwin LLP. He's a lawyer, I think. How are employers dealing with social media issues in the workplace? Well, we could tell them. We could tell folks that.
A thing or two, yeah. Exactly.
I mean, I guess they're probably dealing with the sort of the legal eagle sort of stuff. But we talk about the opportunity, wouldn't we, in all that? Anyway, Roma, what have you got?
At St Michael's Manor Hotel on the 12th of June, surviving the triple dip. Ooh, okay.
I thought we didn't have.
No, absolutely. Well, it's not happening on our programme, and certainly the companies coming in to talk to us are definitely not suffering. And that's a Chamber of Commerce business breakfast. I believe the speaker is Anne Nudd. Have a look on the Chamber of Commerce website.
Okay, and one more, Vicky.
Big Hearts, Big Ideas for Business. It's an interesting initiative to encourage your business to develop a transport strategy or travel plan with the aim of promoting more efficient and sustainable ways of travelling and working in Watford, Hemel, Hempstead and St Albans. Free advice, free discounts, resources, all sorts of information if you've got any need to manage your travel. If you want any more information, go to, it's an email address, bighearts, BIGHERTS, at hertfordshire.gov.uk. It's a government initiative. That's Big Hearts, Big Ideas for Business.
Fantastic. And just to round up and thank our guests from the show, we've had, just to remind you, we've had Deryane Tadd from the dressing room. It was lovely to have her on both in our interview slot and also in the panel. Also on the panel was Alex Schoobert. We had Aarti Parmer, marketing manager from Bang and Olufsen in Harpenden, and of course Stuart Grant, who was a beneficiary of the Grants for Growth programme. I'm afraid we've come to the end of our show, so should we all say good night?
Oh, good night.
And we'll see you all very soon.
You've been listening to The Business on Radio Verulam. If there's anything in the show you want to talk to us about, phone us on 01727 839 926 or email thebusiness@radioverulam.com.